Another day, another flurry of free agent activity as we welcome you to Quick Slants. It's presented by Nissan. I'm Derrick Gunn.
And I'm Barrett Brooks, and the Eagles defense took a significant hit today. Jordan Hicks heading to Arizona.
Yep, Cardinals and Hicks reportedly agreeing to terms on a 4-year contract worth up to $34 million, including $20 million in guaranteed money. Hicks was the Eagles' third-round pick back in 2015. He spent all 4 of his NFL seasons here in Philadelphia. Very productive when he's on the field. But the bigger problem has been injuries. Always been a big concern for Hicks. He's missed 21 total games in his career due to injuries, including the Birds' Super Bowl run when he was sidelined with a torn Achilles. Losing Hicks wasn't unexpected, but it leaves the Eagles awfully thin at linebacker. Nigel Bradham and a whole lot of question marks. All right, Barrett, two-part question. Thoughts on Hicks going to Arizona, and where does this leave the Eagles here at the linebacking spot?
Well, number one, I'm not going to hate on him. Of course, you know, I'm one of those player-orientated analysts that want the player to get the money. So he got the money. That's great. He's going to be a good move, a good fit there. They run a 3-4 system, so he's got to read a little bit, use his skill, and he's one of the instinctual linebackers that he'll fit in really good with the Cardinals. Well, for us, it puts us in a compromised position. So now we only have really one starting linebacker with starting experience. Now, I love Camo Grugier-Hill. He was my unsung hero last year. The amount of reps that he played puts him in a position that he's going to be great going into this season. I really think this is going to be his progression in becoming that starting linebacker in their 3-4 defense. But we don't run a 3-4 defense. Our base defense is big nickel. I tell everybody was, what's big nickel? Big nickel is when you have 3 safeties and 2 linebackers. You have that hybrid safety that can go and be in the box and be that guy that can go up there and play at the linebacker position, make tackles at the running back position, and be able to go out there and cover running backs and tight ends. So he has to be more of a guy that can run a little bit, but he has to be physical. I like the fact that he can do that. Camo Grugier is able to do that. But Nathan Jerry, he has to step it up also. Because now if you're going to put Camo Grugier-Hill at that starting will position, now you need a guy that's going to come in a 3 linebacker scheme, and that has to be Nathan Gary. Can he step up to the plate? Now they do have Paul Worlow. I don't know what he can do. He got hurt just before the season and didn't do anything. So we'll see what he does. I know he was a really good player when he was with the Detroit Lions. He was more of a special teams type of guy. I don't know how he fits in this system, but I am impressed with the fact that they have some guys that got a lot of experience last year, put them in position to play last year. Now they're going into this year, and I can rely on them to go out there and be a linebacker, not just a special teams guy, but a linebacker. Those 2 guys, Nathan Gary, Camo Grugier-Hill, I got a lot of confidence in them. Paul Worley, I'm going to see about him. Worlow, I'm going to see about him. But at the linebacker position, I still think we need to go out and get an impact guy. A guy's going to go out there and kick butt and take names. I want to see C.J. Mosley. Can't have him. He got paid. He went and robbed the bank. That brick stuff is still taking 2 stops from going out there and picking up his money. Kudos to him. But I really want an impact linebacker here. I think they're going to go through the draft. That way they can handle, him under the cap. They don't have to spend any big money in the cap. Because I still think there's still one more big splash that Howie Roseman's going to do in this offseason.
Yeah, when you mentioned Jordan Hicks' name, 2018 in particular, he was rated the 10th best linebacker by Pro Football Focus. But that dark cloud hovering over his head is the fact that he's missed 33% of a possible 64 regular season games he could have played with in the Philadelphia Eagles. For me, that's a big red flag. And when the Arizona Cardinals invest that kind of money into a player like that, that's taking somewhat of a risk. Now, when he's on the field, Jordan Hicks, solid player, smart player, active player, just instinctive player. Everything you want in a young linebacker. But again, I keep saying if you can keep him on the field.
That's
because
it.
when he's not out for 1 or 2 games. A lot of times 5, 6, 7 games, as we've been accustomed to seeing him, except for the 1 year where he got to play a full 16-game season.
It was even in college, too. He did the same thing in college.
Same thing in Texas. But see, I see what Arizona's doing. You're talking about an Arizona team that was 20th in defense last year, 26th in points allowed, giving up almost 27 points a game. You have a new head coach. You're going in a new direction. And defense was a problem. You're trying to shore up some spots on defense. That's why they also went out and got Terrell Suggs to go along with Jordan Hicks. So now you have hopefully 2 impact players, although I can't believe Suggs will be entering his 16th season in the National Football League this fall.
Wow.
He's almost old as you are. You haven't played since the 80s, so that's another story.
I actually played against him, so he's been out there a long time.
In the 80s?
No, I didn't play in the 80s. Come on,
I'm sorry. But I will say this, though. I also have some concerns back home. The Eagles are not in a bad situation, but it's not a very enviable situation as well. You know what Nigel Bradley can do? Paul Worlow, big question mark. I'm not so high on Nathan Gary. Maybe the Eagles organization is. That remains to be seen. Kamu Grugier-Hill, to me, is a situational linebacker. He may have to step up. This may be his moment to shine. The Eagles may view him as that next step behind a Jordan Hicks. That remains to be seen. But I do think they're going to have to draft another young linebacker and groom him for the future. And there's an awful lot of talent still out on the open market that they can look at. Once all this feeding frenzy settles down with all these big numbers, as it always happens in free agency, when it starts to settle in, then you start to see some solid players getting reasonable numbers and not these gargantuan numbers that we're seeing and hearing about yesterday and today and even being finalized come tomorrow, which is the first official day of free agency. So I look for the Eagles and Howie Roseman to make some kind of move, a middle-of-the-road move maybe, just to improve their linebacking situation just a little bit better.
I was born a little too early, man. The money they're giving out now.
Woo.
But hey, exactly. Well, the big news Eagles had yesterday involved a trade. The Eagles acquired Deshaun Jackson from the Bucks, then gave him a 3-year, $27 million contract. Carson Wentz is fired up for Deshaun returning to the Philadelphia Eagles. Wentz tweeting, "I just stand here and throw it up as far as I can. You will go and just run." That's how we sound. How does that sound, Deshaun Jackson? Welcome back to Philly, my man. I welcome him back with full arms also. As we look at how effective Deshaun has been in the vertical passing game, Gunner, how much does Deshaun help Carson Wentz and the entire Eagles offense?
Well, Torrey Smith, unfortunately, wasn't that guy. Mike Wallace, unfortunately, wasn't that guy. But even at 32 years of age, Deshaun Jackson can still be that guy.
Yes.
He forces a secondary to play off him. You don't play a lot of bump and run with the Deshaun Jackson because he makes one move. All of a sudden, you're on his highlight reel. And by them forcing a defense and a secondary to play off him, that allows for more room to roam for underneath route runners as well, which helps them in their intermediate game. Look at Deshaun Jackson, and you look at what he's done in his overall body of work. He has 24 career TD catches of 60 or more yards.
Wow.
That is the most in NFL history. 173 catches of 20-plus yards, 63 catches of 40-plus yards. He has still got that elite speed. He will make a secondary quiver when he comes out. Now, I understand he's not going to play every down. We don't expect him to. But he is the perfect situational wide receiver. And even when you use him as a decoy, a secondary still has to respect his ability that the quarterback may audible at the last minute because he sees something over there in the matchup and may go to him. So that's going to help open up the field for the Zach Ertzes, the Alshon Jeffries, the Mac Hollins, so on and so forth. But I do wonder if Father Time is slowly catching up to Deshaun. 2016, he only missed one game. 2017, he missed 2. But in 2018, he missed 4 games. Again, he's 32 years old. Nature's taking its course. Those little aches and pains that you bounce back from when you're a lot younger, a little bit harder to come back from as you start to get in those 30s, Barrett. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, okay. All right. Father's kind of caught up with him a little bit. He doesn't run a 4-2 anymore.
No, he runs a 4-3.
Now he runs a 4-3. Yes, exactly. We're talking about a guy, the defensive coordinators lose sleep over when they're going to play against this Eagles team. Yes, he will be that guy who can take the top off, literally take the top off. You cannot keep that 8th defender in the box. All last year, defenses did not respect the fact that either one of our quarterbacks, either Carson or Nick Foles, could throw the ball over the top because we didn't have a weapon to go over the top. We had Mike Wallace. Last year, he got hurt, so we couldn't use him. So to the detriment of this offense, we couldn't go throw the deep ball. They said Nelson Aguilar would be able to do it. He wasn't as successful as I thought he was going to be on the outside with those deep routes. Deshaun Jackson will run those 9 routes. Will run those routes in which, the deep fades that he can go out there and catch. He can run deep out. And the big thing that he's got his game going to that next level are slant plays. Guys play so far off that they just throw simple slants. And those slants go for 10, 12 yards for first downs. If you notice, even our defensive coordinator, Coach Schwartz, had back guys off so far that they were running slants on them all day. That's what Deshaun Jackson brings to this offense. The biggest participant he's going to be out there is on 3rd down. Mm-hmm. He's going to be out there. He's going to stretch the field, which is going to allow that whole inside to open up. Nelson Aguilar, he's going to be able to go out there and run in between the defense. Guys like Zach Ertz. Those are all the guys that are going to be at the full complement of what Carson Wentz can do because of this fact that Deshaun Jackson's going to. Can you imagine how they're going to look now with the two receivers on the outside? Man, it just opens up everything with his offense. I cannot wait to see this. And if you look at it, those deep outs that we can run now are going to open up the little out routes, the little slant routes. Those are all things that this Eagles team couldn't do last year, but will be able to do this year.
All right, another question following the Deshaun Jackson trade. How does it impact who stays and who goes in the Eagles wide receiving core? All right, here's a look at the Eagles' current wide receiving structure, the way it stands right now. Golden Tate, Mike Wallace, Jordan Matthews are all free agents. So right now, the notable names are Alshon, Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Aguilar, Mack Hollins, Shelton Gibson. Now, focusing on Nelson Aguilar, entering the final year of his rookie contract, set to make just under $9.4 million in 2019. Barrett, Aguilar will be on the roster next season on his current contract. Maybe he won't. And if so, what role would he have with this Eagles offense?
I know me and you were talking about this, arguing about this back when we were preparing for the show. I really think that Nelson Aguilar has the Eagles in a tight situation now.
What?
They're in a tight situation because he holds all the cards. Okay, you cut him. All that big money that they have out there, he will take a part of it. Because I see guys on this that are free agents out there that are now the level of a Nelson Aguilar. I don't think that they are. So he will get big money if they make him a free agent. And he knows that, and his agent knows that. We're just going to put this Eagles team in a situation where, all right, if he does not feel like taking a pay cut, he just won't. So they're going to have to pay him 9.4. The only way they can get around there is maybe sign him to an extension. If you sign him to an extension, that number will go down, and they'll spread it out over a longer period of time. That's the only way that if I was Nelson Aguilar, I would do it that way. I wouldn't have them saying, all right, you're just going to get or you're going to get cut. Cut me. That's fine. All that money they're giving out there, I need to pay that anyways. So I think at this point, he has them right now. He holds all the cards. If you cut me, I'm going to go get the big money. But if you leave me here, you have to sign me to an extension and give me more money over a longer period of time.
See, I don't think he holds all the cards. I don't think he's a Jason Peters status, a future Hall of Famer, a consistent Pro Bowler. And I think there's still a number of receivers out there they could bring back. Nelson doesn't want to come back. Golden Tate, we're sorry we made you wait this long. Would you still like to come play for the Philadelphia Eagles, along with the likes of Alshon and now Deshaun Jackson as well? And I think if Nelson got on the open market, he would get decent money. I don't think he'll get big money because, Barrett, the big money is always given out the first few days of free agency. Then all of a sudden you got guys scrambling, just wanting to catch on with the team to continue playing the game, to continue their tenure so they can get their benefits down the road. So Nelson Aguilar is not of that status right now. There's a lot of receivers out there with Nelson Aguilar type skills, so to speak, okay? Now, depending on what offense he's in, he could go somewhere else and maybe be a star. But it's not the case here. It's not the case here. And I would like to think maybe Cincinnati, maybe. Now, you can't say Buffalo. Now, Buffalo went out and got Cole Beasley and John Brown. So, there's very few opportunities where he can say, I want this, I want that, or I'm not going to do. No, he doesn't have that kind of tenure yet.
He doesn't have that status. He can stay in the division. Dallas would love a guy like him because he can work the middle because they just let their slot receiver go.
Let him go to Dallas.
You look at Washington also. They did the same thing. Let their slot receiver go.
You think I'm worried about Dak Prescott or Case Keenum throwing to Nelson Aguilar or Eli Manning for that matter?
I just say he's going to get
Nelson
paid.
Aguilar.
I tell you what. He's a better slot offensive player than those guys were. He's that good of an athlete, and in the right system, he could definitely go out there and be a major factor.
I do agree. I know Nelson has told us time and time again that he can play either position, but let's face it, let's look at the numbers. I thought Nelson was more productive once they moved him to the slot, more so than when he's on the outside. Yeah, he got his occasional deep ball. I'll give him that. But in terms of overall effectiveness, I think he's much more effective as a slot receiver. But I'm just saying if he goes somewhere else, I don't think he's going to command that big of a deal. And with Howie Roseman always on the phone and having his scouts always scouring the countryside for different players that are available or could be available, and Howie always wanting to make a trade, they'll find somebody to replace him. There's no question about that whatsoever.
We'll just agree to disagree, Mr. Gunn.
Still ahead, news on Nate Sudfeld, and that's right, from now on you call me Mister, that ensures he will be a candidate for the Eagles' backup quarterback job next season. Plus, the addition of Malik Jackson gives the Eagles a formidable defensive front. We'll discuss how dominant that defensive line can be on this edition of Quick Slants presented by Nate.